Well, hi there, I'm Colin Lamb, and no one's asking me who the top 5 classic rock frontmen of all time are. And since no one's asking me, I'm going to tell you. In this video, we're going to go over the top 5 classic rock frontmen of all time. Now, this list is going to be a pre-1990 list, and it's not going to feature solo artists like Elton John and David Bowie and James Brown. James Brown, in my opinion, by the way, would blow all but one of the people on my list completely out of the water and make them look like an amateur. That needs to be said before we proceed in this video. Let me know whether you agree or wildly disagree with any of my choices, or if there's anybody that I've missed. I can think of one that will probably come up right off the bat. If this video gets more than 200 views, I will do a post-1990 list. But let's get right into it. Number 5 on my list is Robert Plant. Tight pants and a denim man blouse. One legendary, albeit modest, crotch bulge. Robert Plant could sing, he could move. His talent was not eclipsed by a band that featured 2 of the most prolific session players of the British 1960s, and a band that also featured John Bonzo Bonham. Jesus Christ, that's hard to say for some reason. He stood tall amongst those giants. He had power, range, and he managed to shoehorn lyrics about Gollum and Mordor into legendary rock anthems. He is undeniable, and you cannot wear a man blouse unless you can shriek like Plant. Number 4 on my list is David Lee Roth. This is true, by the way. There is a government black book project that ran 100 computer simulations in which David Lee Roth was born. In every single one of them, he joined Van Halen and moved to Japan to study martial arts for a period of time. That's absolutely true. I heard about it in between ball trimmer advertisements on the Joe Rogan podcast. In a band with Eddie Van Halen, it would be foolish to try and match that level of virtuosity, and I don't think David Lee Roth ever tried. I think he was just fucking David Lee Roth. Leaping splits and nostrils, hungrier than fat bastards tapeworm. Go watch those concerts from the 80s. The man was a self-professed cheerleader and truly a great frontman by any metric. Back in the day, he could sing, he could write lyrics, he did it all. And he famously said, "What kind of lyrics are you going to write drinking iced tea?" Which is something I've thought of many a days while sipping beer and accomplishing absolutely nothing of significance. Anyhow, number 3 on my list is Stevie Nicks. When I was a young boy, I saw an ad watching late night television. I think it was one of those Columbia Records ads for Sounds of the 70s. And when I was watching that commercial, I distinctively remember seeing the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. It was gritty, old, re-recorded film footage from the Midnight Special. She was wearing a see-through, just the arms were see-through, but that was enough for me. This was a pre-internet time. That got me going. She also had a top hat on for some reason, which didn't do anything to faze my intrigue, but when she sang, she had the voice of an angel. And the Midnight Special, incidentally, has a really great YouTube channel now where you can go and watch performances like that. I highly recommend. Anyways, her delivery, her effortless delivery of lyrics has always intrigued me, but just her presence in the creation of this now famous witchy woman persona, her command on stage with somewhat limited movement, and again in a band of absolute fucking monsters, she stood tall. And she had a way of delivering lines with smooth, effortless, velvet softness, even when the subject matter was cutting and somewhat vindictive, given the inner romantic struggles of that band. But I think she belongs on this list and any list of rock frontmen. And frontman is just a term I use because it's easier to say than front person. Okay? Anyways, number 2 on my list, we have Ozzy Osbourne. Now, you can disagree with my opinion about putting Ozzy on this list, but Zakk Wylde, Tony Iommi, and Randy Rhoads would probably not disagree with him being on this list. This was a guy who got kicked out of Black Sabbath for being too fucked up. He is a founding father of metal by any metric. And even after being kicked out of that band, he still drew to him like a gravitational force of rock another set of great musicians, and he was able to thrive as a solo artist. His simple but endearing stage antics have always turned my heart. I remember watching the Last Supper, the Black Sabbath reunion video footage of him leaping around and clapping like a deranged old man, dumping buckets of water over himself. And this was at a point in time where, he was on reality television. Maybe this was a little later, but barely coherent in conversation and speaking, but could still at that time get up and sing like a banshee. Now, I also saw Black Sabbath play, I think it was in 2018 on one of their tours, and he still fucking had it at that point. So he belongs on this list. And also, I want to say he's funnier than most comedians. He's probably not aware of it. And it's just a shame that, he might not remember wide swaths of his career where he was indeed a legendary and epic frontman by any metric. So number 1 on my list is none other than Freddie Mercury. And I got bullet points here. Brilliant songwriter, excellent pianist, insane vocal ability. Some of the greatest songs ever written, I would say, would be in Queen's catalog. And he could command a crowd of tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands if you watch the Live Aid footage, which I highly recommend you do if you haven't seen that. I don't know what you've been doing. There's also a 1985 81 performance from Live in Montreal that you should really be checking out. And quite frankly, if you haven't seen those performances, you've wasted equal amounts of your time alive, infinitely, and are continuing to do so infinitely until you go and check out those performances. If I could see, I'll bookend this list by saying, if I could see just one dead performer from all time, it would be Freddie Mercury. I would love to have seen him live with them, and I think he would still be going. Maybe he wouldn't have the range today, but I mean, watching him perform Somebody to Love at Live Aid is a spine-chilling moment, and watching the way that man could move around the stage and just command the attention of anybody watching. And again, a guy John Deacon, the drummer's name escapes me, but Brian May, those guys are monsters. And I think that's something that all of these frontmen have in common, is that standing up on stage in a band of tall trees like that, of absolute masters, Jimmy Page, Eddie Van Halen, Michael Anthony, and Lindsey Buckingham, and all these performers, each of these that I've mentioned, they stand tall amongst those other great talents. And that is my explanation, justification, and at the end of the day, Bald Man's opinion of why those are the greatest pre-1990 classic rock frontmen of all time. If you agree or disagree, let me know down in the comments. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a little bit of a like and subscribe to my channel and check out some of the other content. And no one's asking me, but I just told you. I'm not asking you, but feel free to let me know in the comments. Anyways, take very good care of yourself, and I'll see you in a future video. Bye-bye.